Hello, young humans. So, you have a library time on Fridays, but I realize that not all of you are going to be able to make it. And some of you won't want to make it because your morning meeting will be done and you can move on to other things. So, if you choose not to come to library time or you can't come to library time, every week I'm going to record what we're reading that week so that if you want to, you can go back and watch it at your leisure whenever you feel like it. So for 5th grade, which is what you are, congratulations, by the way. Oh, and if you're new to our school district, I'm Miss Harden. I'm your librarian. I know you don't actually get to see me in person. This is the best I can do. This is the book I've chosen for you that we're going to start with. It's called Wink, and the author's name is Rob Harrell, and it's sort of loosely based on a true story. And when you hear the word wink, you think of flirting with somebody that you like. It's not what this book is about. So let's get started. This is for you, Chapter 1. Let's get radioactive. I'm lying on a steel table, all too aware of the giant ray gun pointed in my direction. It looks like one of those room-sized 5-ton laser things supervillains use in movies, the kind they threaten to destroy the planet with. What music are you into, Ross? I'm pretty sure the radiation tech is just trying to distract me as he bolts me down. A hard plastic mesh mask over my neck and head holds me still. They molded it to my face yesterday. And the tech struggles to click it onto the table. He scrunches his nose, pushing. Oh, anything, whatever, I mumble through my teeth. The hardened mask doesn't let my chin move very much. The headpiece locks in, and the tech, Frank, gives my shoulder a bump with his fist. Come on, man, if you're going to lie here for a half an hour, you need some tunes. I've got all kinds. Name something you like. There's no wrong answers. I scan my brain. Can you just... KZAQ? It's the name of a radio station, by the way. Okay, no wrong answers but that one. He winces at me. Seriously? You like that top 40 garbage? It's what my parents have on all the time. It's so dorky. I try to look away casually, but my head won't budge. Frank stares before letting out an exaggerated sigh. Fine, but tomorrow tell me what you like, not what Mom and Dad like. He walks over and fiddles with an old-timey boombox on a high wall shelf next to a teetering stack of CDs and cassette tapes. Seriously, there must be a gazillion dollars worth of equipment in here and they can't afford an MP3 player? I notice a bit of a tattoo peeking out from the arm of Frank's scrubs. A lizard tail, maybe? Or a tentacle? Beyoncé fills the room, and suddenly Frank is all business. I know we went over this yesterday, but let's review. The gurney you're on is going to lift you up and move you into place. The treatment takes 25 minutes or so. Keep your arms inside the ride at all times. Do not throw things at the radiation techs, and do not feed the radiation techs. Do not waggle your legs around like a synchronized swimmer. Do not pass go. Do not hum the Goo Goo Dolls. I despise the Goo Goo Dolls. Frank steps aside to let another tech, Callie, I think, reach in and mold some blue clay over the bridge of my nose. She smiles at me and tells me it's to protect my good eye from the beam. Then she pats my chest. I hope I don't look as nervous as I feel, because I feel like a rabbit in a trap. My face is hot. Okay, now for the important part. Frank is back. When I tell you, you're going to stare at the red X above you, the one we made over there by the big zapper yesterday. You'll see it when the machine slides over you. The mask prevents much of a nod, but he seems to catch it. Don't move your eye off that X, or your eye will explode into a million pieces like the Death Star, okay? I let out a little grunt. Frank puts his hand on my arm. I'm kidding, Ross. I mean, kind of. Don't look away from the X. Your eye won't explode, but we're dealing with your vision. Important stuff. So keep your eye on the X, or it could, well, just keep your eye on the X and you'll be fine. Callie steps back in with a U-shaped attachment that looks like part of a kid's car seat. She fits it over my face and helps me slip the molded mouthpiece into my mouth. My teeth lock into it when I bite down, and she snaps the end of the U to the table. Ka-chunk. The table is attached to a huge mechanical arm like something out of Star Trek. My nose itches. I couldn't move my head if I had to. And something about that makes me all squirmy inside. I feel like a bug on a dissecting table. Frank and Callie look down at me. You good? Callie squeezes one of my sock-covered toes. Need a blanket? Nah, I'm good. Okay. She tucks a lock of hair behind her ear and gives me a friendly smile. Everybody smiles a lot here, probably because they can tell I'm freaking out. We'll be right around the corner. You'll do great. Frank winks. No sweat, you'll see. They walk off to my left, but I can't turn my head to follow them. The lights dim slowly as Gwen Stefani starts singing about bananas. I'll admit it, it's a little freaky being the only one in here with all this machinery, all this stuff. I close my eyes and let out a long breath. It shudders as it slowly comes out, which somehow takes my nerves up another notch. All right, Frank's voice squawks through the tiny speaker. We're going to get started, Ross. Just relax and keep your eye on the red X. You're about to go for a ride. After a few seconds of silence, there are loud bangs and a revving sound. The entire room full of heavy machinery comes to life with beeping and whirring and what might be big fans powering up. Maybe things heat up when the radiation gets going? I have no idea. Then the gurney shudders and I begin to rise. Frank comes through the speaker again. Houston, we have liftoff. Chapter 2, Protonapalooza. My vocabulary of scientific terms has grown by leaps and bounds in the last few months. Biopsy, malignant, carcinoma, lacrimal gland, resection, triangulation, proton radiotherapy. I may be in 7th grade, but I ought to be qualified for med school by the end of this. The hardest part of the treatment is keeping my eye focused on the center of that red X. The whole thing makes me incredibly nervous. If someone tells you not to think about a purple elephant, it's suddenly the only thing you can think about. The harder I try to keep my eye still, the more it wants to slide off of the X. And my eye isn't the only thing drifting. My brain keeps taking me back to the day this all started. So there have been a few really bad days through this whole thing. Capital B, capital D. The first one was a few months ago, mid-July, right smack in the middle of what was supposed to be an awesome, relaxing summer. The build-up to bad day number 1 started when I'd been lying down in a chair reading To Kill a Mockingbird. It was a summer reading assignment, and while I'm strongly against summer schoolwork, I had to admit it was a pretty good book. I got up and walked into the kitchen, and my dad's eyes got wide. Whoa, what happened there? I had no idea what he was talking about, so I opened the pantry door searching for food. What happened where? Does that hurt? He came over and carefully touched the area above my eye. Does what hurt? I stepped into the hallway and looked in the mirror. My eyelid was all puffed out. It looked like a bullfrog's neck when they blow their necks up before they croak. Whoa, that is nasty. I poked at it. It was pretty gross, like it was full of fluid. We talked about whether I'd been bitten by something, no, or gotten hit by something, no, and decided to ice it. It went down over the next half hour, so we forgot about it. Until the next day, Sunday, when I woke up late with another case of frog eye. We iced it again. Then Monday morning, my dad took one look at me and called out of work, which is a super big deal, and we drove to see some eye specialist, Dr. Scheffler. Dr. Scheffler told me I needed a CAT scan. Turns out that that's lingo for a procedure called a CT scan. But for a little while, I was picturing a doctor waving a cat over me. 30 minutes later, I was in an ancient building near the hospital. I found myself wearing a hospital gown, the dumbest, most butt-revealing garment ever designed, and padding down a cold hallway in little brown socks with treads on the bottom. They put me on a steel bed, my feet sticking through a giant mechanical donut, and at this point, I started getting genuinely nervous and kind of wishing my dad hadn't stayed in the waiting room. A truly enormous male nurse, looked like he should play for the Colts, came in and put an IV in my arm. Needle 1 out of 3 billion, now that I'm counting. He warned me, Ross, when I inject this, it might feel like you're peeing your pants. It made me laugh, until a few minutes later when he squirted the contrast dye into the IV line, and I got all warm and felt exactly like I was peeing my pants, even though I wasn't peeing or wearing pants. So weird. It couldn't have felt more like I was peeing if I'd actually let go and whizzed myself. Sorry, I digress. Afterward, Dad and I went to grab an early sub at Dagwood's, as they always have awesome milkshakes, and their sandwiches are the best thing ever put between 2 slices of bread. Dr. Scheffler told us we'd probably get the results in 2 or 3 days, so it was pretty far from my mind as my dad parked out front. I was busy considering the wide array of delicious sandwich options I'd soon have. Then my dad's phone rang. He pulled it out, looked at the screen, and frowned. My dad was looking over at me when he answered. Hello? I only heard my dad's side of the conversation. Yes, it is. Wait, you did? Okay. Right now? All right. Absolutely, we'll be there in 5 minutes. He hung up and slid the phone all the way into the pocket of his jeans before he said anything. That was, Dr. Scheffler. He has your scans and he wants to see us now. Is that bad? No, he started the car. I don't think so. He was trying to sound casual, but his face had gone kind of slack. Let's just swing over there and, we'll do Dagwood's after. I peppered him with questions, but he assured me the doctor hadn't told him anything. Then he was just quiet, which wasn't like him. I'd have killed for a knock-knock or a dad joke right about then. So, Dr. Scheffler said when we were back in his office, he used his foot to hook a rolling stool over and sat down in front of us. He set down the file he'd been holding and leaned in, his elbows on his knees like a basketball coach in a huddle. I felt my dad tense up beside me. I cracked a few knuckles. Thank you for coming in so quickly, Dr. Scheffler continued, speaking carefully. Let's not beat around the bush. The scan picked up something, a mass above your right eye. He looked right at me, his mouth squeezed in a tight line. It was a look that somehow said, I'm sorry I have to tell you this, and this is serious business that we need to discuss like adults, all at the same time. I'll never forget the way my dad said, really? Like he'd just found out dragons exist, or that day is night. That's honestly the last thing I remember clearly. I mean, I didn't pass out or anything, but they kept talking while my body and my head went kind of fuzzy. I heard bits and pieces. Tumor? No way to know yet. Needle biopsy as soon as we can. Could be benign, but let's... In the lacrimal gland above the right. Size of a gumball. No time to panic yet. Then all of a sudden, we were at the somber shaking of hands and thank you part. They'd schedule this and that and call us. And then we were outside, sitting on a couple of steps outside the front door. My dad pulled me into him and rubbed the top of my head, gave it a casual kiss that seemed anything but casual. It's gonna be fine, Ross, okay? The dumb thing is most likely benign, In case you don't know, benign means not dangerous. It's not gonna spread. We sat there for a while, him rubbing my shoulder. I kept thinking, how serious is this? I remembered when my mom went through this, even though I was only 4 when she did, that benign was a good kind of tumor. Or not good, but not necessarily dangerous. Malignant was the bad kind. Cancer, the big C. But what now? Was I supposed to cry? Should I wail and throw myself down on the ground? It would have been helpful if Dr. Scheffler had given me a chart from 1 to 10, circled the 6, and said, this right here is how much you should freak out at this point. While I sat on the office steps, my dad went a few paces down the walk to call my stepmom, Linda. Then he called my grandmother, Gammy, in St. Louis, who sniffled and called me Rossi about 1,000 times when I got on the phone. I thought about texting my friends Abby and Isaac, but I couldn't yet. I had no idea what I'd say. Later, when we got home, Linda set something yellow out for dinner that I poked at but didn't eat. I remember sitting in the basement playing Annihilation Moon until my thumbs ached. Eventually, the day got dark and ran out the way even the worst days do. I went to bed, but I couldn't sleep, so I just lay there, watching headlights slide across my ceiling to the sound of my dad and Linda low talking in the next room, and all I felt was numb. I'm gonna stop there. We'll do chapter 3 next week. It's called Back to Reality. Thanks for coming, guys. I'll see you soon.